Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another kind of test session of Snow Goer Live, the new show we're starting here on the Snow Goer YouTube and Facebook channels. I'm John Prusak, your host. Tonight, I have a couple friends with me that we're going to bring in over the course of the program to talk about different things that are going on in the snowmobile industry. On this show, we're regularly going to talk about racing and competition. We're going to talk about trail riding, about the sleds we're riding. We'll talk about the weather. We'll talk about anything snowmobile related. And you can watch us and join us in our little make comments in our little sidebar, and hopefully we can pick those up and have our guests answer to those as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Again, it'll typically be Thursday nights at 7:30 Central Time here on the Snow Goer pages, and we're going to expand it beyond that too as we go. So I'm going to start out, normally I'll start out with more of a song and dance, but I've got a guy who's real busy this weekend who's agreed to join us. His name is Steve Shearing of the famous Shearing Speed Sports racing team. Steve started that independent race team in 1997 and has really become a stalwart in the sport. And he right now is joining us live from Ironwood, Michigan, site of the season opening snowcross races. And through the magic of this Restream portal, there he is joining me. How are you doing today, Steve?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you having me.
So when did you roll into town? What's the schedule look like when the big snowcross semis pull in?
So for a team like ours, we're a little bit different with our Air Force partnership. We'll come in a day early and we'll go to local high schools and we'll do a little presentation. We'll talk about technology, making good choices in life, a little bit of a soft sell with the Air Force. And then, so we're usually the last ones to park on parking day, but ISOC is very good about saving us a spot. So we ended up parking this afternoon. Did some last minute putzing kind of prepping on the vehicles. We're pretty well ready for the weekend. Tomorrow we'll be out at the track about 8 o'clock in the morning. We have the Amsoil Dominator tomorrow night, which is a heads up race, kind of a specialty race to kick off the season. And then Saturday night is the regular ISOC triple crown format racing to kick the season off.
So you got to tell us what it looks like up there at Ironwood. I saw an aerial shot or a drone shot of the track. It looks fantastic from that angle, but what are you seeing from the ground?
It's winter. It's winter. It's
yes, it is.
5 below right now, and it is white and it is gorgeous. You know, we came here last year, the first year they put this race on, and they put their hearts and soul to it, and we got it off, but it was muddy and icky and squishy, and everything looks like winter here, and it's going to be a great weekend because also on Saturday, the temperatures look like they're going to hit about 30, 32, cool down to 28. So it's going to be a great event for people to come watch as well.
Again, I'm joined by Steve Scheuring, owner of the Shearing Speed Sports team. You have a new driver leading your pro effort this year. Tell us about him.
Well, we got a spark plug, Gus Salson from over in Sweden. I watched him last year. He won the Dominator here last year and had a slight injury right after that race, but I could see the potential in this guy, and we've had conversations all last winter, and we came to an agreement last spring, and man, he's been over at our place for about a month, and what a fun driver to have. He's excited, he's intense, he wants to know what's going on, he puts in 100%, he's very polite, and he knows what the goal is.
So are there any special challenges of having you've typically always had drivers from North America and usually from the US? Are there any special challenges in bringing over a racer from Scandinavia, whether it's communications or visas or anything like that?
Well, so far, the hardest part we've seen is try to explain to them that a G and a J has to be pronounced when you do a word instead of like belly yelly. You know, that's been the biggest challenge. But, you know, you plan ahead for the visas. And, you know, even though we're an Air Force sponsored team, you forget that we've had 5 drivers already from outside of the United States. We've had, you know, Robbie Malinowski, Tim Tremblay, Max Telfair, Francis Pelletier. We had the Japanese rider for a little bit come to our team for a couple of races. So,
that's right.
You know, we're still an Air Force team, but our drivers, you know, we go where the talent is.
Sounds good. So, I mean, let's face it, there's been some various news the last few weeks about different things going on at Arctic and things like that. And, you know, so many people get into the doldrums, especially coming off last winter where they're kind of negative about so many things. How good does it feel to be at the track, seeing all the sleds, getting ready? Let's get this thing started and get everybody's excitement back up.
Well, I tell you what, you show up in the pits and you see 30 big semi rigs there and almost 100 small trailers. It's like there's faith in snowmobiling, and everybody, has a short memory in snowmobiling, both racing and riding, and they forgot all about last year. And it's a very healthy sport. I've been doing this for 40 years, and every year I hear the sky is falling, and every year we go racing. You know, the tough
Yes, you do.
media is like everybody's got to find the negative about something. It's like say something good once in a while and help promote the sport. What you guys are doing by saying bad things is just driving sponsors away and manufacturers away. Say good things. I mean, come to a race. Look at the U.S. Air Force, AMSO, Milwaukee, all the big sponsors the sport has. I mean,
Absolutely.
there's not a lot of sports out there that are doing that right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting, even doing what I do all these years. It's amazing how many people who are so negative when behind a keyboard. Then when you meet them, they're the most positive person in the world. It's interesting how some people get negative when they got the little keyboard in front of them. But we'll probably never change that. So, well, why do you keep coming back? You've been, as you said, you've been doing this forever. Did I have right that you started the team in '97? What keeps bringing Steve Shearing to the track every year?
I have fun. I enjoy it. It's a passion. It's a group of guys working together towards a common goal. We're all from a small town, and we're taking on the best in the world, and we're competing with them. We're beating them. We're getting beat by them. Just to be at that element is just like a real validation for something that I've worked my whole life to come towards. Starting off my own type of racing out of the back of a pickup to having a full blown transporter and fully funded team through sponsorship and some of the top racers and mechanics in the world. It's just a validation that hard work truly pays off, and you can do anything in life if you put your mind to it. And I enjoy it. When it was 12 below this morning and our generator gelled up, my smile wasn't quite as big as it was after I got done eating supper tonight, but I understand that as part of the deal. And there's no pity parties allowed because it happens to everybody in winter sports.
Yeah. Let's since you mentioned how long you've been involved in snowmobile racing and racing out of the back of a truck, we've got to share a picture that I stumbled across when scanning in old photos. This is a Mr. Steve Shearing. I can't remember, it was the 90 or 91 Eagle River World Championship. What can you tell us about what it was like to be an oval racer?
Oh, that's my baby there. I tell
Yeah.
you, that was a cool deal. And, when I raced that, it was just unbelievable being on a twin track going around the track or being at Eagle River in front of before that indoor seating and there'd be 25,000 people watching you. Just an incredible rush. And, I was probably a 10th to 12th place driver back then. But fast forward 25, 30 years, and I'm talking to Steve Thorson, and he's telling me about titanium suspensions, titanium clutches they had. And here I've got, maybe a spare clutch weight in my toolbox. Reason I wasn't a second place driver, but I truly enjoyed that, and just the technology back then with the Formula One sleds, the Formula Three sleds. It was a great time in racing, and now is a great time. They're just two different types of great times.
Yep, absolutely. It's a lot of hot pink in that sled, and the orange helmet kind of clashed with some of the sled design. But at least it looks like Mom sent you to the races with a good set of boots. I don't know if anyone was able to focus on that, but those look like some mighty nice mucklucks you got on there.
So I'll tell you, if I got a second, I'll tell you a good story about that. We were the first team to ever race with a fuel injection system with a company called Ejection Research Specialists out of the Western States. And the same time we were developing it on this, the Persian Gulf was going on, and they had drones over there on the 521 Rotex motors. So what we were learning on the test tracker out on the lake, they'd be calling the military later in the afternoon saying, okay, you need to adjust this or you need to do this. So it was kind of a cool inception into the whole world of fuel injection.
That's crazy. What you were learning on oval tracks was applying that far away. That's really fascinating.
Yep, and there was more than once they called him and said, "Shut him down right now, you're going to crash." So definitely not.
So you also are the proud owner of the Climb Compound, the big race testing and practice track up in Gilbert, Minnesota. What have you seen from your competition up there since people have been practicing? Does everybody look to be in pretty good shape, or the competition going to be fierce this year?
This is going to be a great year. We have one of the premier testing facilities in North America, and we're usually open before everybody else because of our location. And I tell you what, there's about 8 racers out there right now that could easily win any race, and it's people don't realize how good those pro drivers are. And everybody's like, well, we need more pro drivers. I can't think of 5 drivers that I could move up in that class that would have a chance in hell of competing against them guys. They are so talented, and what they can do to them snowmobiles is unbelievable.
Well, you've got a pro light driver that's probably not that far away from stepping up to the pro class in young Mr. Shields. So I'm guessing we'll see another one out of your team in the relatively near future.
And that is our plan. The plan is to go through another year pro light, hopefully move into pro next year, and you know what, build the ladder. And we also have a kid in sport light we're helping as a feeder for 5 years down the road. So, you always have to keep one foot on the gas and one kind of fishing line in the water.
Absolutely. All right. Well, knowing you're a busy guy, we're going to cut you loose, but we really appreciate you joining us tonight, and we wish you the very best of luck this weekend up in Ironwood. I'll be watching on the Flow Racing app, and when I'm not watching the races in Beausejour or going to Snowfest or doing whatever, and by the time Sunday gets here, I plan to be riding somewhere. So busy weekend, even though I won't be up there in the infield taking pictures of you guys. Have a great time, Steve.
So that's what counts.
All right, perfect. Take care. So
Thank
we'll
you.
cut Steve loose here through the magic of electronics. Again, that's the Amsoil Championship Snowcross opener this weekend. It opens tomorrow in Ironwood, Michigan, and then another full program on Saturday. So it should be an exciting weekend of racing. And speaking of Ironwood, Michigan, our second guest left Ironwood, Michigan, bright and early this morning to drive all the way to Beausejour, Manitoba. If you're not familiar with Beausejour, that is the place that typically opens and closes every oval racing season, and does it in great fashion. He was on us on with us on our last test. Let's roll in Mr. Brett Richter. How you doing, Brett?
Fantastic, John. Good to see you again.
Nice seeing you as well. Mr. Shearing mentioned the weather in your hometown, but I'm guessing Beausejour might even be a little bit colder.
Oh man, it's 21 below zero here tonight, and the forecast for tomorrow morning is still 10 or 12 below zero. Thankfully, when practice rolls around, we're hoping to break zero and get a couple hours of practice in tomorrow afternoon before the weekend. But the weekend looks great, so we should be in good shape. Just talking to one of the drivers today, they said the whole thing about test and tune is going to be probably not conditions equal to what the race day shows up. So you'll learn something, but maybe not exactly what you hope to learn.
So you were out at the track today. Did you get a good look at the ice and things?
I did. Yeah, fantastic work again by the folks up here in Beausejour. The group of volunteers at the CPTC. It's one of the biggest tracks you ever find in ice oval racing, yet the entire surface is flooded. The pits are flooded. The kids' track is flooded. The amount of water that's been put down over here, and they're far enough north. It's like Steve said about making snow at his facility. Up here, they can make the ice. So they've really done a great job, and track looks fantastic for the weekend.
So I knew this was going to be the 63rd year of racing at Beausejour. I did not know until today when I was doing a little research that the December race doesn't have quite as long of a history. There was one back in 1973, but as far as regularly 1989, as far as the December race, what does it mean to the racers? For that matter, what does it mean to the race fans and teams to have this early race to really kick off the season at such a historic site?
The December race up here has really evolved over the course of time. And in the past 10 years, they've even added it as the first round for the Tour series, whether it was the TLR Cup or the Pro Star Cup Tour or whatever. Because in the past, it didn't even have that credibility. So as the facility proved and the people up here proved that they can host a race in December, it's added value to things like season-long tours. And then with Ironwood typically being the only other venue to run before Eagle River happens, teams have really found that it is beneficial to come up here and get the extra laps, get the testing, and really gauge the competition. I think that's the biggest thing. When you see who's here for the weekend, it's not just people trying to get a little bit of seat time. It's really the best of the best, and they're out here trying to see how they compare to everybody else before they get to some of the other races this season.
Again, my guest is Brett Richter. He's going to be covering oval racing for a lot of different things this winter, including doing some stuff for Snow Goer's website. And we hope to have him as a very regular guest here on our Snow Goer Live program. But this weekend, you're also busy with something called Cool Down TV. Tell us what that is and where people can take it in this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best things about the race up here in Beausejour is they've worked hard to form a sponsorship group that provides live streaming for free. It's one of the issues that's always kind of been brought to the forefront is why do we have to pay for live streaming? And the folks up here at the CPTC really value the live stream opportunity. So through a partnership with Cool Down TV and some of their sponsors, we'll have live stream available both Saturday and Sunday. There's a direct link on the cptcracing.com website. You can also go to cooldown.tv and you'll be able to find a link there. It'll also flow through the CPTC YouTube channel. So racing will start at 1 o'clock on Saturday and 11 o'clock on Sunday. They did about $500,000 of improvements in their lighting system here in the past 24 months. So Saturday we'll actually see the finals finishing under the lights, which is really something to see.
Yeah, I've been hooked on the Cool Down coverage the last couple of years. It's I mean, they do a good job of just what's going on in the track, but it sounds like increasingly they're going to be mixing in some things that you cut with the different racers, so we can get to know the guys under the helmets. Correct?
Yes, we're actually tomorrow morning we're going to be doing about a dozen interviews with various drivers from different classes. I've asked them this year even to bring in their helmets so we can put their helmet on display when we do the interview. So as you see them on a track, you've got another visual reference to understand who the person is. We're going to air those interviews during plow breaks or during track maintenance breaks. And in addition to that, I'm going to be roaming the pit area, and we tested it last year. I think we have the bugs worked out. So hopefully we can get some live updates during race day from either sleds that have broken down, potentially drivers that had an off during a race, and are they okay and where are they going and are they going to be back? And in addition, talking to heat winners and some of those types of people that we can get to once in a while to see conditions on the track and how they're feeling about gauging competition. So trying to make it a little bit more of a rounded event instead of just the race action.
Very good. Now, you got a peek at the race entry list. You've been texting me some numbers and things like that. Talk about the numbers and about some of the interesting specific entries in different classes that you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, I've seen 118 different drivers registered. And when I was looking through the race sheets today, they're averaging about 6 entries per race. So with 55 races scheduled for Saturday and 54 on Sunday, that's a great field of races throughout the day. Good numbers in almost every class. The Pro Champ class currently has 22 entries in it. The F3 class has 14 entries in it. And out of those 14, 8 I think are also Pro Champ drivers. So we've got 6 F3 only drivers here, which is a little bit unique. So people obviously doing some testing before the World Championship comes up in January. The F500 class is pushing 21 or 22 entries. I think 2 with the Triple Crown that was just announced with a $10,000 to win check. After that series is over, I think the F500 class has gotten some extra draw. And one of the things, John, I found most interesting, up here at Beausejour, they offer a Pro Light class, which is basically, I want to run champ, but I'm not sure I'm quite ready to run champ. So put me on a champ sled and let me run with people of equal experience. Mm-hmm. We have 3 drivers registered in the Pro Light class. They are all women.
Wow.
So, yeah, really excited to see how that goes. It's Jaslyn Rathke, Alyssa Augusta, and Kendra Westland.
Okay.
So they're all going to be running the Pro Light class. And then in the regular Pro Champ class, there's Sabrina Blanchette and Haven Boverett. So that'll make 5 women actually potentially could run the Pro Champ class on Sunday.
And a young Miss, pardon me, a young Miss Mackenzie Phillips, I believe, has typically been a racer at those, but she's injured this season. Is going to miss this season. But it's interesting seeing these young, fast women come up through the sport. Certainly, Sabrina has proven that she can run with any of the guys, particularly on the vintage sleds.
Yes, for sure. Actually, Alyssa is one of the individuals on our interview list for tomorrow morning. So we'll get some of her personal information on her rise up to the Pro Light class, and we'll watch for that during one of the plow breaks.
You had mentioned earlier the entries in Pro Champ and Formula 3. Now, for people who haven't followed oval racing very much in the most recent years, well, I'll back up. I haven't been going to oval races since I was 6 years old, like you did as a kid. My first Derby race was the January of 1994. But back then, you had 2 classes that really, well, a lot of classes mattered, but you had 2 big ones. You had Formula 1, which is the World Championship class, and we had Formula 3, which had guys, Mike Hoole and Guy Useldinger and Steve Hoole and, Brian Sturgeon and all those guys that are all legends in the sport. It's interesting that we're kind of back there now. Now we have, the Pro Champ is the modified sleds that are race specific chassis that are kind of like the old Formula Ones in a sense, except with one track, obviously. And now you get Formula 3 back with kind of a stock body. Talk about kind of how those fit together and how one's the world championship class and one's the national kind of touring class.
Right. It's interesting from a driver perspective because it's really kind of split as to which one is their favorite. Some drivers are really in tune to the Pro Champ class. It's kind of an open chassis, really. You kind of pick and choose where you want to put your bells and your whistles on your Champ sled and how you can move it around and how you can make it feel better and drive better on your own. Matt Gady, though, has been noted to say that he feels like we're almost technology out of the Pro Champ class. It's like they've learned almost everything they can learn, tried almost everything they could try. So in essence, he doesn't necessarily feel that the learning curve exists in Champ anymore that it does in the F3 class. The F3 class with a different style between Polaris and Skidoo really is interesting because the drivers in the Skidoo chassis feel with the higher center of gravity, they're at a little bit of a disadvantage. Yet, who's won the races the past couple of years? It's been the Skidoo. Right. So really kind of an interesting mix. I think you see a little bit of everything you want when you see both F3 and you see Pro Champ run at close together. Really exciting stuff.
Yeah, Gady of all people is talking about the learning curve when he's won 2 straight world championships. Come on.
He holds his cards very close to his chest.
Yes, he does. I'm not even going to try to say Dave's last name, but we have a question in the live chat here about whether the Friday practice is going to be live streamed at Beausejour. Do we know that?
We do know that it is not. Friday's actually setup day for most of the audio and visual stuff. I'm going to try and jump in and do a little bit of Facebook Live stuff off of the Chasing the Checkers page. So I'll be there once or twice during the day, but the regular practice will not be live streamed.
So what was the general vibe when you're walking around the pits today? Are people pretty excited? Is there kind of a little anticipation in the air like there is so many times at early season races?
Yeah, everybody thinks their stuff is fast and that they think they've learned something over the summer. So proving it is going to be interesting. Last time when I was up here for Friday practice, I was surprised at the number of speed guns that were out at the end of the front straightaway. So a number of teams, gauging the temperature of everybody else that's out there. A lot of stopwatches running and, cell phones taking recordings of stuff. So it's going to be really interesting. Because what'll happen if it's anything true to form is about 20 to 1 tomorrow. They'll start lining up outside the pit entrance, wanting to be the first in line to get out and start practice. And in that 3 hours, there's going to be a lot of laps burned up on the track.
So what are the and I'm putting you on the spot because you may not have this directly in front of you, but what are the hours of racing? Do you know that for the 3 days?
I do actually. So 1 to 4 on Friday's practice, and then driver registrations from 4 to 7, I think. On Saturday, it's going to be 10:30 to noon for hot laps. Racing will be 1 o'clock start on Saturday until approximately 7. And then on Sunday, I believe hot laps are 9 to 10:30. Racing starts at 11, should be over around 4:30.
Very good. And then, as you mentioned, after that, suddenly the oval racing attention turns to your hometown of Ironwood, Michigan, where they're racing bump sleds this weekend. And shortly after that, Eagle River and Wausau, and we really get rolling through the winter season.
Yep. The trek is on, so it's nice to have a couple close to home right off the bat after this one.
After a nice short drive to Beausejour. How many hours up there?
Just 9.
That's nothing.
Yeah, a little bit of windshield time. I told my wife it was beautiful but boring.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. No. All right. Well, with that, we will cut you loose. My eyeballs will be on the computer, particularly on Saturday, as I'm doing different things around here and in the Minnesota area. Hopefully Sunday I'll be riding somewhere, so then I will have to catch up at the end of the day. But wishing you a lot of luck, wishing all the racers a lot of luck and good fortune and safety this weekend. And we'll just pray for the best.
Yep. Thanks, John. Look forward to it. And we'll have some information to you late Sunday or Monday with how the weekend went.
Sounds perfect. All right. Thanks, Brett.
You bet.
See ya. And we'll erase him. So now you're stuck with me, everybody. We'll just quick kind of wrap it up here with a couple of notes. Yeah, I lost my screen. I don't know if you people can see me or not. I might be back now. One thing we talked about with Snow Goer Live is we'll talk about what we've been doing, and the most fun thing we've been doing recently is riding. Last weekend with contributor Jeff Oberg, I loaded up a trailer and headed up to Michigan's UP and got some riding done. We rented a cabin on the North Shore of Lake Ogibic and put on over the course of a day and a half 201 miles of trail miles up there. And I tell you what, it was fantastic. It was chicken soup for the soul for this guy to get out and put on the miles and have fun. And after last winter, we were all kind of down in the dumps, and we had to work so hard just to get in any riding we could. To have those trails that well established this early is great news for riders like us who maybe don't mind trailering a little ways. And I look at our long range forecast even here in the Minneapolis area where we're based. It's going to get a little bit warm this weekend, maybe upper 30s, but after that, the 10-day forecast doesn't have anything that's above like 34, and that's probably just for a couple hours each day. So that should, if we can get some precipitation to follow in this hard freeze, that should get us started on a really good season. This weekend in particular, I've kind of alluded to it earlier, is going to be busy in a lot of different ways because there's so many events going on in the sport of snowmobiling in general. We've mentioned the snowcross races in Ironwood this weekend. We talked about the races in Beausejour this weekend. It's also the cross-country racing opener with the Gerald Deerdall Memorial Pine Lake 200 in Gonvick, Minnesota. That was historically, that's always been the race where you find out which brand has the speed. It's a lake top cross country, and it was always one of my favorites to cover back in the snow week days. Other things going on. It's Old Forge Snowdeo weekend out in New York. So wishing those folks the best of times. Looks like a lot of snow has fallen in some parts of New York. Some of it got erased by a little warm and rain, but it's being reinforced now. Not all the areas were open for riding. So, some late hunting seasons and things like that have forced the season a little bit deeper, but hopefully that'll let those trails get better established. One thing that members of my team, and including me, hope to be doing on Saturday is attending the Snow Fest in Waukon, Minnesota. That is for folks in my neck of the woods. That is a must-see event if you're not riding that day. There's a vintage show. There's showing of snowmobile videos, and including some old school ones. There's fundraisers and auctions and support of local clubs and things like that, all held at Muggs Bar. And there's also a trivia contest that's going to be hosted by my coworker, Mark Rosacker. He's been working on trivia questions. So if you think you're really smart about snowmobiles, swing up to Waukon and let's see what you got. There's also some vintage shows going on this weekend and club events. So, even if you can't ride, there's plenty of things to get your attention and get you psyched up for the season. So with that, we're going to sign off because I promised to try to keep these at about a half hour. We want to thank our guests, Steve Shearing from Shearing Speed Sports and Brett Richter, the oval racing insider. As I said, Brett will be joining us more this season. Again, Snow Goer Live will be cutting these mostly on Thursday nights at 7:30. We invite questions into the chat. I see a couple more have folded in. Lorraine mentioning the Old Ford shootout, and Russ, I can't give you a straight answer yet on whether the Snowmobile Racing Challenge is going to happen on our website. Frankly, the app that we have used to run that fun little game has some problems that we're trying to see if we can nurse through another season. No guarantees, but I'll see what I can do in the next 24 hours, but we might have to wave goodbye to that. Again, Thursday nights, Snow Goer Live, join us here, and we'll talk snowmobiling, snowmobile racing, snowmobile riding, new sleds, all that sort of stuff. Again, I'm your host, John Prusak. Thanks for joining us, everybody.